You're in the middle of a heated argument. They made a clear mistake. An obvious screw-up. You wait for it. You expect it. Those two simple words. I'm sorry. But it never comes. Instead, excuses, blame, gaslighting, or worse, complete silence. The tension builds, and the relationship, bit by bit, starts falling apart. Sound familiar? That person in your life, maybe a partner, a boss, a family member, a friend, who no matter how badly they mess up, just can't say those two words. They leave you feeling dismissed, angry, and completely confused. We usually call these people stubborn, arrogant, or selfish. But today, we're going deeper. We're looking at the hidden psychological reasons that make saying sorry feel impossible for some people. This isn't just about pride. There's actual psychological mechanisms at work here, wounds from the past, and a total misunderstanding of what it means to be vulnerable. Today I'm breaking down the 3 mental traps that lock people into never apologizing. We'll look at why saying sorry feels like death to some people. We'll uncover how shame keeps them silent. And I'll give you a simple framework to help you understand this behavior, protect yourself, and maybe even fix it in yourself. If you're tired of dealing with people who won't own their mistakes, stay with me because what's really happening in the unapologetic mind is way more complicated than you think. Trap 1: the ego protection reflex. Let's start with the biggest barrier. What I call the ego protection reflex. This is where saying, I'm sorry, feels like admitting you're completely worthless. For people stuck in this trap, their sense of who they are is built on shaky ground. Admitting they made a mistake feels like their whole identity is being attacked. It's not just saying, I messed up. To them, it feels like saying, I'm a complete failure as a person. Where does this come from? Usually childhood. Imagine growing up where every mistake you made was met with harsh punishment, insults, or your parents giving you the cold shoulder. Your brain learns a dangerous lesson. If I'm wrong, I'm worthless. So saying sorry as an adult brings back that childhood fear of being abandoned or rejected. Think about it. If every time you spilled your juice as a kid, your parents screamed at you and told you you're stupid, your brain builds a shield. It learns to avoid that pain at all costs, even as an adult. So what happens when these people are confronted with their mistakes? Their brain activates defense mode. Instead of apologizing, they make excuses. It's your fault for being so sensitive. If you didn't overreact, this wouldn't be a problem. They justify everything. I only did it because you started it. I had no choice. Anyone would have done the same thing. They downplay it. It's not even a big deal. You're making a mountain out of a molehill. Why are you so dramatic? They flip it back on you. If you hadn't done that, I wouldn't have reacted this way. So really, this is your fault. Here's the thing most people miss. This usually isn't calculated manipulation. They're not sitting there thinking, how can I mess with this person? It's automatic. It's their brain desperately trying to protect a fragile sense of self. Their inner voice can't handle the idea of being imperfect. For them, I'm sorry doesn't mean, let's fix this. It means, I'm confessing I'm a total failure. Let me ask you something. Is this actually strength? Or is it weakness hiding behind a mask? Truly strong people can admit when they're wrong, learn from it, and move forward. They know that making mistakes doesn't define who they are, how they handle those mistakes does. But people who can't apologize? They're trapped. Stuck in a rigid version of themselves and constantly defending a fake image instead of building real inner strength. Their refusal to say sorry isn't power. It's them silently begging for validation they can't give themselves. They're so scared of being seen as flawed that they destroy real relationships to keep up a perfect image. And the irony? This actually makes them weaker, not stronger. Trap 2. Shame and the need to be perfect. Beyond just looking weak, there's something deeper happening. Shame. And what I call the need to be perfect at all times. This is super important to understand. Shame is different from guilt. Guilt says, I did something bad. Shame says, I am bad. For people who never apologize, admitting a mistake instantly triggers massive shame. Not just, I made an error, but, this mistake proves I'm a terrible person. This usually comes from believing they need to be perfect, flawless, and good all the time to deserve love. Any sign of imperfection feels like it ruins their entire character. Picture this. They built their whole identity on being the responsible one, or the smart one, or the person who never messes up. Saying sorry feels like putting a permanent stain on who they are, confirming their worst fear. I'm broken and nobody could love me. This connects to what we call toxic perfectionism. It's where anything less than perfect feels like a disaster. These people can't separate what they did from who they are as a person. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone who grew up being compared to their perfect older sister. Why can't you be like Sarah? She never causes problems. That kid learns. My parents only love me when I'm perfect. Now they're an adult. They get frustrated and snap at their partner after a bad day at work. A normal response would be, I'm sorry, work was stressful and I took it out on you. That wasn't okay. But for someone drowning in shame, that apology feels like saying, I'm a horrible person who doesn't deserve to be loved. So apologizing for what they did feels like admitting they're permanently bad. The stakes feel life or death. Because of this, they use avoidance strategies. They disappear, physically leave the room or emotionally shut down. They give you the silent treatment. Anything to avoid facing that shame. They go numb. They turn off any feelings of regret or empathy. They literally can't let themselves feel the weight of what they did because it's overwhelming. They attack. They lash out to take the spotlight off themselves. Oh, so I'm the problem? What about when you did that thing last month? Here's what you need to get. When someone refuses to apologize, it's not usually because they think they're always right. Often they're terrified of being exposed as wrong or bad. They can't apologize because they're desperately trying to avoid the crushing weight of shame. They hold on to needing to be perfect because letting go feels like their whole self would collapse. The sad part? This refusal to admit they're human makes real connection impossible. Trap 3. Seeing everything as win or lose. The third trap is what I call the vulnerability problem, mixed with seeing all relationships as battles you have to win. For these people, life is a competition. Every disagreement, every fight, every conflict is seen as a contest where someone wins and someone loses. If they apologize, they think they automatically lose, they look weak, and they give power to the other person. And in their mind, that can't happen. Where does this come from? Usually environments where showing weakness got you hurt. Maybe they grew up where admitting you were wrong meant getting mocked, put down, or having it thrown back in your face later. They learned that admitting fault, opening up, or showing regret meant getting attacked. So their brain developed a strategy. Never show weakness. Never give anyone ammunition. Always stay on top. Apologizing requires vulnerability. It means admitting you're not perfect, saying you feel bad about something, and risking how the other person reacts. Which could be anger, rejection, or more demands. For someone who can't handle vulnerability, this feels way too risky. Their inner voice says, if I open up, I'll get hurt. If I admit I'm wrong, they'll use it against me forever. If I show weakness, I lose control. Listen to how they talk. I'm not giving them the satisfaction. Why should I say sorry when they won't? If I apologize, they'll think they can walk all over me. This is the language of war, not relationships. But here's what they're missing. This isn't real strength. Being vulnerable, or being able to open up, that's actual courage. People who can't apologize are stuck in a defensive position, unable to truly connect or fix relationships. They care more about winning the fight than keeping the relationship healthy. And they don't see that these lead to completely different outcomes. Here's the real tragedy. Refusing to apologize, which they see as winning, is actually the biggest loss. It prevents real closeness. It destroys trust. It leaves them isolated. They might win by not saying sorry, but they lose the chance for authentic human connection. They end up emotionally walled off, unable to give or receive the healing that comes from a real apology. They're surrounded by surface-level relationships or end up alone, confused about why nobody really gets them. The irony? The protection strategy they use ends up creating the loneliness they were afraid of in the first place. The solution: 3 ways to fix this. Breaking free from this pattern, whether you're the one who can't apologize or you're dealing with someone who won't, requires changing how you think about strength, vulnerability, and what an apology actually is. Here are 3 ways to build real accountability. Way 1. Change what apology means. For those who struggle to say sorry, you need to completely rethink what an apology is. An apology doesn't mean you're worthless. It means you have humility, integrity, and you value the relationship. It says, "I messed up, but this relationship matters more than my ego." Start with tiny no big deal mistakes. "Oops, I was wrong about what time that store closes." Or, "My bad, I remembered that wrong." Or, "You're right, I should have called you back sooner." These small apologies train your brain. They prove that admitting fault doesn't end in disaster. You don't explode. People don't leave you. Usually, they actually respect you more. If you're on the receiving end, understand their refusal usually comes from old pain, not them trying to hurt you. This doesn't mean you accept bad treatment, but it helps you not take it personally. Don't expect a perfect apology. Watch for them actually changing their behavior instead. Way 2. Understand the difference between guilt and shame. You have to learn to separate what you did from who you are. This is crucial. Use this phrase: "I did a bad thing, but I'm not a bad person." This is the key difference. Guilt helps you fix things. Shame makes you hide. Be kind to yourself when you mess up. Remember that everyone is imperfect. Every person you look up to has made tons of mistakes. The goal isn't perfection, it's growth. Forgive yourself for small errors, and get comfortable with being wrong sometimes. The more okay you are with your own imperfection, the easier apologies get. If you're receiving the non-apology, don't attack their character if you want them to engage. Talk about how their action affected you, not what kind of person they are. Say, "When you canceled last minute, I felt disrespected," instead of, "You're so selfish and inconsiderate." The first opens a conversation. The second makes them defensive. Way 3. See vulnerability as strength. Real connection comes from shared imperfection, not performing perfection. An apology is a powerful act that rebuilds trust. It shows the other person the relationship is important enough to you that you'll risk looking imperfect. This is how you get real intimacy. Practice being vulnerable in other parts of your life. Share something you're scared of. Admit when you don't know something. Ask for help. These actions build your ability to be vulnerable, which makes apologies possible. If you're dealing with someone who won't apologize, set boundaries. If they consistently refuse to own their mistakes, and they keep hurting you, accept that you can't force them to change. You have to decide if you can stay in a relationship where there's no real accountability. Protect yourself. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is step back from someone who won't meet you halfway. The bottom line: The person who never apologizes is usually trapped. Trapped by ego, shame, and fear of being vulnerable. Their refusal to say, "I'm sorry," isn't strength. It's a sign of deep internal struggle. They're fighting invisible battles with old wounds, fragile self-image, and terror of being truly seen. Real strength isn't never making mistakes, it's having the courage to admit them, learn from them, and fix the damage. An apology isn't just words. It's a powerful way humans connect. This isn't about who's right. It's about choosing to build bridges instead of walls. So here's my challenge. What's the smallest and easiest apology you'll practice giving or accepting this week to start building real accountability? Drop it in the comments. And if this helped you understand something, subscribe and hit that bell for more breakdowns of human psychology.